It was the last day of school, and everyone was in a weird mood. Some people were crying, some were blasting music from their car stereos, and a few were just wandering the halls like they didn't know what to do with themselves. Senior year was over, we were finally free, or at least we were supposed to be. I wasn't really celebrating like everyone else. My name's Evan, and I had spent most of the year floating somewhere between invisible and that kid who wears headphones all the time. I wasn't unpopular, but I wasn't exactly in any group. I mostly just counted the hours until I could go home. We got our yearbooks that morning. Just before the final assembly, everyone rushed to grab theirs and start flipping through to find their own pictures, circle their favorites, sign the covers, all that stuff. I sat on the stairs near the gym, flipping through mine half-heartedly. Page after page of faces I barely remembered. It was crazy how fast you could forget people you saw every day. Then I stopped flipping. It was on page 47, the junior section. Third row from the bottom, far right. A girl with long black hair and a blank stare. Her name was printed under the photo, Jessica Lynn. That name hit me like ice water. Jessica Lynn had died last year. She was in the news for weeks. Died in a car crash on the way home from a school dance. She wasn't even supposed to be driving yet. Her older cousin let her borrow the car. I remembered her face from the local news. Her vigil, the pictures taped to her locker for months. She had been a sophomore then. Everyone talked about it for weeks and then just stopped. So what was her picture doing in this year's yearbook? I stared at the photo for a long time. Her face looked off, like the lighting was different than the rest of the page. Her eyes weren't looking at the camera, they were just slightly to the left. Like she was staring at something just out of frame. And unlike every other photo, there was no smile, her expression was flat, almost sad. I flipped to the index and checked her name. It was listed. Jessica Lynn Jr., page 47. But that made no sense. She had been dead for over a year. I looked around, half expecting someone to jump out and yell that I'd been pranked. That it was some dark joke, maybe some kind of tribute. But no one was paying attention to me. Everyone was too busy signing yearbooks and hugging each other goodbye. I walked down the hall and found Mason, one of the yearbook editors. He was one of those annoying theater kids, always bouncing around and talking fast like he was in a constant audition. "Yo, Mason," I called out, "got a sec?" He turned and grinned, holding a Sharpie. "Want me to sign your book or your soul, my dude?" "Just a question," I said, flipping it open to page 47. "Who added this?" He looked at the page, his smile fading slightly. "Who?" "Jessica Lynn," I said, bottom right. He blinked at it. "Huh, weird. You don't recognize her?" "I mean, she looks familiar, but I don't know her." He looked at me like I was being dramatic. "Why?" "Because she's been dead since last year." That got his attention, his eyebrows went up. "Wait, seriously?" "Yes, she died last spring, that's her. That's the exact photo they used on the news." Mason grabbed the book from my hands and studied the picture. "No way, that's crazy, I swear. I didn't see this when we were proofreading everything. I mean, every photo was double-checked. So how did it end up printed?" He looked unsettled now. "I don't know. Maybe someone photoshopped her in as a sick joke." That didn't make sense, though. The layout was perfect, the spacing, the font, the lighting, except for the eyes, it all matched. Whoever added it, if it was added, knew what they were doing. Mason handed the book back. "I'll ask the team, that's messed up." As I walked away, I glanced back at the photo again. This time, I swear her eyes had shifted. Just slightly, like they were looking at me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Not just with the yearbook, but with me. Like I'd triggered something by noticing it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo again. Jessica's eyes staring straight into me. Hollow, not angry, not sad, just there. The next day I texted around to see if anyone else noticed her photo. Most people didn't even bother replying. The few who did just said something like, "Yeah, weird lol," or didn't even notice. I asked Olivia, she used to be in the same dance class as Jessica, but even she was confused. I thought she died last year, she texted. She did, I replied. Then how'd she get in the yearbook? No idea, but she's there. That's creepy AF. That's when I knew I wasn't crazy. Other people saw it too, I wasn't imagining it. By that evening, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I took the yearbook to my desk, flipped to the page again and froze. Jessica's photo was different. Her head was tilted slightly now. Not dramatically, but enough that I knew it hadn't been like that yesterday. Her expression was a little more intense. Still no smile, but now her mouth looked parted, like she was about to whisper something. I grabbed my phone and snapped a picture of the page, then flipped forward and backward through the rest of the book. I didn't see her anywhere else. Just that one photo in the junior section. Still listed in the index, still printed like nothing was wrong. That night I had a dream, at least I think it was a dream. I was walking through the school, empty and dark with only the exit signs glowing red. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. I could hear faint whispering behind the classroom doors. Whispers that stopped the moment I passed by. I ended up outside the gym where I'd first seen her photo. The yearbook was open on the floor. Pages fluttering like a fan was blowing them. Jessica's photo appeared on every single page. Then she stepped out of it. She didn't look like the photo version. Her skin was gray, wet-looking, like she had been pulled from the river. Her eyes were sunken and black, her lips were blue. She stepped closer to me and whispered, "Why did you forget me?" I jolted awake, gasping for air. My room was dark and quiet, but the yearbook was still open on my desk. I got out of bed and walked over to it, heart pounding. Her photo hadn't changed, but now I noticed something new. There was a small, faint smudge in the bottom corner. Almost like a fingerprint. I touched it. It was wet. I jumped back and wiped my hand on my shirt. The page felt dry again, like nothing had happened. That was it. I needed answers. The next morning, I biked to school. It was technically closed, but the admin office was open for returns and cleanup. I told them I left my hoodie in my locker. No one questioned it. I walked the halls slowly. Empty schools are way creepier than they should be. Every locker clanked in the silence, and the faint smell of bleach and old textbooks filled the air. I made my way to the library. There was a storage room in the back where they kept old yearbooks. Going back decades, I remembered seeing them once when I had library aide duty sophomore year. I opened the cabinet and pulled out last year's book. I flipped to the sophomore section. There she was, Jessica Lynn. Different photo, same sad eyes. The caption under her name had a little heart icon, a memorial. In loving memory of Jessica Lynn, class of 2025. I stared at it for a long time. Then something made me check the year before that. The freshman book, I pulled it out, opened the index and flipped to her page. She wasn't there. No Jessica Lynn listed. Weird. I flipped through every page, checking each photo, nothing, not a single trace of her. I sat back, confused. She would have been a freshman 2 years ago, right? Unless she moved mid-year or something. But that didn't make sense. Everyone remembered her. She had friends, classes, she was on the dance team. She had been here, so why wasn't she in that book? I closed the yearbook and stood up, and that's when I heard it. A page flipping behind me. I turned. The cabinet door was wide open. One of the yearbooks had fallen out onto the floor. It was this year's edition, and it was already open to page 47. Jessica's eyes were staring up at me again, but this time she was smiling. I slammed the book shut and shoved it back into the cabinet like it was cursed. My hands were shaking and my breath felt caught in my chest. This was something else now, something way past weird or creepy. Something was seriously wrong. I didn't even remember biking home. The whole ride back was a blur. I locked the yearbook in my desk drawer and told myself I wasn't going to look at it again. I even pushed a hoodie over it just to block the sight of the spine. I didn't want those eyes on me anymore. But later that night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text read, "You saw me, no one else ever does." I froze. I wanted to ignore it, block the number and pretend it was some twisted prank. But then came a second message. "Come back to school, midnight, the yearbook room." I stared at my phone for a long time, my thumb hovering over the screen. I should have told someone, anyone, but I didn't. Maybe because deep down, I felt like this was meant for me. Like I was part of something I didn't understand yet. At 11:45 p.m., I left the house quietly and biked to the school again. My keys to the AV closet still worked on the side door, thanks to lazy janitor routines. I crept through the halls with just the flashlight on my phone. Everything looked different at night. More stretched out, more hollow. I made it to the yearbook room and paused outside the door. I half expected it to be locked. It wasn't. The door creaked open by itself. The room was pitch black except for one thing: the overhead projector was on. But instead of a slideshow or a computer screen, it was projecting a single image onto the far wall. Jessica's photo. Not the one from this year, the one from her memorial. She looked peaceful in it, but the longer I stared, the sadder she looked, like she'd been waiting forever. Then a voice spoke soft right behind me. "You remembered me." I turned so fast I nearly dropped my phone. She was standing in the corner of the room. She looked like she did in the photo, long black hair, school uniform, soft features. But her eyes, they weren't angry. They looked tired, drained, like she'd been stuck in a loop for a long, long time. I didn't speak, I couldn't. Jessica stepped forward. "They forgot," she whispered, "everyone. My friends, my teachers, even my parents moved. My locker got repainted. No one visits the crash site anymore. I just faded." She looked down at the yearbook on the desk. "But you remembered me, you looked." I swallowed hard. What would you want? "To be seen," she said, "to be real, to not disappear again." Her voice was so soft it barely echoed. Then, with a sudden chill in the air, she looked up and something changed in her face. Her lips pressed together like she was making a decision. "You can help me," she said. I shook my head slowly. "How?" Jessica stepped closer, so close I could feel the cold radiating off her skin. Her eyes were locked on mine. "Let me stay." And before I could move, she touched my chest. Everything around me dropped into silence. No sound, no light, just a void. Then images, flashes of her crash. Her last moments, her floating above the car wreck as people screamed around her. Being forgotten year after year. Then I was back in the room, alone. The projector was off, the photo was gone. And when I looked in the mirror behind the door, I froze. It wasn't my reflection. It was Jessica. Her face, her eyes staring through my eyes. I screamed and fell back, gasping. When I looked again, it was me. But something was off, like there was a delay in my movements. Like something else was still in there with me. I ran home. I don't remember how. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I opened the yearbook again. Jessica's photo was gone. Her name too, nothing in the index, nothing on page 47. But now in the senior section, there was a new photo. A black and white shot of me. Only I wasn't smiling. I wasn't even looking at the camera. My eyes were looking just slightly to the left. Like I was watching something. Or someone. Senior prank night was a dumb tradition. But that never stopped anyone from doing it. Our school, Jefferson High, was famous for it. Past classes had filled the principal's office with balloons. Zip-tied every locker shut, even brought in a petting zoo one year. Stupid stuff, but funny. This year, my friend group wanted to outdo all of them. We decided to sneak into the school on the last day of class. Just after midnight and write "Class of 2025" in giant glow-in-the-dark paint on the gym ceiling. Not on the floor, the ceiling. We had a plan to use ladders and rollers with extension poles. And we figured no one would be there that late. It sounded genius at the time. There were 6 of us, me, Dylan, my girlfriend Marissa, her best friend Jules, and 3 guys, Ty, Caleb, and Owen. We were all solid students, decent kids. Not the kind you'd expect to break into school. But it felt like a last hurrah before college split us up. Like if we didn't do something memorable. We just fade into boring adult life. We met up in the parking lot around 12:30 a.m. Ty had snuck into the janitor's supply closet earlier that day and propped the back door open with a chunk of rubber. The plan was simple: sneak in, get to the gym, paint the ceiling, take some photos, and dip. But as soon as we stepped inside, something felt wrong. The school was dead silent, which we expected. But the air was heavy, like the whole building was holding its breath. No humming lights, no distant echoes. Just pure stillness. It was weird. We crept through the halls with our phone flashlights, laughing quietly and pretending we weren't a little freaked out. Caleb started humming the Stranger Things theme just to lighten the mood. Then we saw him. The janitor. Not the regular one, this guy was old. Like really old, long gray hair. Thick glasses, slouched posture. He was mopping near the science wing, even though it was the middle of the night. We all froze. He didn't say anything at first, just looked up slowly like he already knew we were coming. His eyes didn't match the rest of him. They were too alert, too sharp. "You kids shouldn't be here," he said quietly. Ty tried to play it cool. "We're just grabbing some stuff we left behind." The janitor stared at him for a long second. "You're not the first to try this." That shut us up. "What do you mean?" Jules asked. The janitor sighed and leaned on his mop. "Every few years, seniors get it in their heads to come here after dark. Paint something, break something. Leave a mark." He paused. "Some of them don't leave." A chill ran down my spine. "Look," Marissa said, trying to sound polite but firm. "We're just doing a harmless prank. We're not vandals or anything." He didn't argue, he just pointed down the hallway. "Don't go past the West Wing doors after midnight. That part of the building ain't safe." We exchanged glances. The gym was past the West Wing. "Why?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He stared at me for a beat too long, then whispered, "Because after midnight. That side of the school belongs to her." "Her who?" Ty asked with a nervous laugh. But the janitor didn't answer. He just turned and continued mopping like we weren't even there. We hesitated, then kept walking. No one wanted to say it out loud, but we were all thinking the same thing. That guy was either trying to mess with us or he wasn't kidding. When we got to the double doors of the West Wing, Caleb pushed them open with exaggerated confidence. "Come on," he said. "Ghost janitor warnings are part of the senior prank package." We all laughed, but it was fake. The gym was dark, just a sliver of moonlight coming through the high windows. We flicked on our flashlights and started setting up. Jules mixed the paint, Ty unfolded the ladder, and I screwed the extension pole onto the roller. It was kind of fun at first. We joked around, made fun of each other's painting skills, even blasted a few songs quietly through a Bluetooth speaker. But about 20 minutes in, things started getting weird. The temperature dropped fast, like someone had cranked the AC to full blast, even though it was the middle of June. I could see my breath. That's not normal. Then Marissa dropped her roller. She picked it up and looked at me, her face pale. I swear I just felt someone touch my shoulder. "Probably Caleb being a creep," Owen muttered. But Caleb was on the other side of the gym. Then Jules let out a soft gasp. "Did you guys hear that?" We all stopped. Faint footsteps coming from the hall. We froze. "They're slow," Owen whispered. I turned off the speaker, dead silence. Then the footsteps stopped right outside the gym doors. Caleb turned to look. "Nothing. Maybe it's the janitor again," I offered. "Yeah, maybe he changed his mind and called the cops," Ty said nervously. But the doors didn't open, no lights, no voices. Just silence. We were all scared now. No one wanted to admit it, but we were ready to leave. Then the doors slammed shut, hard. The gym doors slammed so hard that the echo shook the walls. The Bluetooth speaker toppled over with a thud. And for a few seconds, no one said anything. We just stared. Caleb ran to the doors and yanked on the handle. "Locked." "Nope," he said. "Nope, nope, nope." Owen tried the second door, also locked. "This has to be a joke," Marissa said. Eyes darting around, "This is a prank, right?" Ty held his hands up. "I swear this wasn't me." The lights in the gym flickered once. We all looked up. That's when we saw something. A handprint, right in the middle of the gym floor where we hadn't painted yet, clear as day in the dust. But it wasn't just a print. The fingers were longer than normal, thin, crooked. And it was dragging, like someone had crawled across the floor. Marissa backed up into me. "Please tell me one of you did that." "Nope," Jules whispered. "We haven't even painted that area yet." Then we heard it again, footsteps. Only this time they were inside the gym. Coming from the bleachers. We all spun around, flashlights shaking in our hands. The bleachers were pulled out for the assembly earlier that day. And now the space underneath them looked like a black mouth, yawning wide open. I aimed my light beneath. Something moved. Fast, too fast. We screamed, everyone backed up. Some of us tripping over paint buckets. Caleb bolted toward the equipment door, the side exit. It didn't open either. Locked. Who the hell locks every single exit? He shouted, pounding on the handle. "Dude, we gotta get out of here," Jules yelled. That's when we heard it. A girl laughing. But not like a teenager, it was a little girl's laugh. Echoey, high-pitched and just. Wrong, it didn't bounce like real sound. It felt like it was inside our heads. Marissa dropped her phone, the flashlight blinked out. In that second of darkness, we all saw her. Standing at the top row of the bleachers. A girl in a dress, white or gray. It was hard to tell in the moonlight. Her hair covered her face, but I swear to God I saw her head tilt. And she stepped down one row. Then another, and another. "Move," I shouted. We sprinted back across the gym toward the double doors. Caleb was already ramming his shoulder into them. On the third hit, they burst open with a crash, and we all poured out into the hallway. Jules slammed them shut behind us and yanked a folding chair from the wall rack, jamming it under the handle. No one spoke for a full 10 seconds. Then Ty whispered, "What the actual hell was that?" We looked at each other, no one had an answer. Then Owen, still shaking, asked, "Did anyone else see her?" We nodded. "Who is she?" Marissa asked. No one knew. "I think I know," came a voice from down the hall. It was the janitor. He was standing at the end of the corridor, arms folded, eyes heavy. "You went past the West Wing," he said quietly. "We had to," Caleb snapped. "The gym is." "I warned you," he said, cutting him off. Ty stepped forward. "Who is that girl?" The janitor hesitated, then motioned for us to follow him. He led us back through the halls to the staff lounge, where he pulled out an old yearbook from a drawer, at least 20 years old. The cover was cracked and peeling. He flipped through to a black and white photo in the back. Her name was Clara Hensley. She went here in the late 90s. The photo showed a little girl. Maybe 9 or 10. She didn't look like the girl we saw. She looked happy. She wasn't supposed to be in the school that night. The janitor continued. Her mom was a night custodian. Used to bring Clara with her because she couldn't afford daycare. One night she let Clara nap on the stage while she cleaned. Something went wrong. A fire broke out in the West Wing. Sprinklers didn't go off. Clara never made it out. Marissa covered her mouth. "Oh my God." They found her body behind the bleachers. He said, to this day, nobody knows how she ended up there. "But why does she show up now?" I asked. The janitor looked at me grimly. "Because kids like you keep waking her up." We just stood there frozen. The old janitor didn't say anything else. He just handed me the yearbook and turned away. Like he'd done this before, like he was tired of warning people who wouldn't listen. We could have left right then, we should have, but something kept us there. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was fear. Or maybe we just didn't want the story to end there, with us running scared like a bunch of cowards. Whatever the reason, we made the worst decision of our lives. We went back. Ty said what we were all thinking. We started this, we should finish it. We grabbed the paint, flashlights, and opened the gym doors again. The room was colder than ever. I could see my breath with every step. We stepped inside slowly, our lights cutting across the floor. The handprint was still there. But now there were more, a trail of them, all dragging toward the bleachers. "I don't like this," Marissa whispered. "This is wrong." We agreed, but we kept moving. The idea was to finish the prank as fast as possible. Take the photo proof and leave. Like maybe it would undo everything we'd started. Caleb and I climbed the ladder and started rolling paint on the ceiling while the others kept watch. 5 minutes in, Owen screamed. I almost fell off the ladder. He pointed to the corner of the gym. "She's there, she's right there." We all turned, and yeah, she was. Clara. But this time she wasn't just standing. She was crawling across the floor on all fours, fast like some broken insect, her limbs bending at wrong angles. Her face was completely visible now, sunken cheeks, burned skin, hollow eyes. Jules dropped the paint bucket. Nope. We bolted. No plan, no gear, just pure panic. The gym door slammed shut behind us again. But this time it didn't lock. We ran, through the west wing past the classrooms, down the hallway where the janitor had warned us not to go. And that's when things got worse. The hallway stretched, like the walls weren't where they were supposed to be. Like the school had changed around us. Every door we passed was bricked shut. The lockers were dented and rusted like they'd been there for 100 years. Marissa grabbed my arm. "We're not in the school anymore." She was right. This wasn't our school. It was some version of it, some place where time didn't move right, where the lights flickered even when they were off, where footsteps echoed before you even made them. Then we heard the laugh again. High-pitched, closer now. The flashlight in my hand flickered out, and for 1 second in the dark, I felt her hand on my back. Cold, small, and burning hot at the same time. I screamed and ran. We finally found a stairwell that hadn't changed, raced down it, shoved through the exit, and burst out into the parking lot. And just like that, everything was normal again. No wind, no cold, no warped halls. Just stars above us and the smell of fresh-cut grass. We never spoke about it again, not as a group. We never finished the prank. The next day, Ty deleted all the photos. Caleb threw away the paint. Jules ghosted all of us. Marissa and I broke up a week later without even fighting. It's like what we saw fractured something between us, something we couldn't fix. The school never said anything. No security footage, no accusations, just silence. But the weirdest part, at the senior assembly the next day, they showed a slideshow of student memories on the big screen. One photo caught my attention. A blurry gym shot taken from high up in the bleachers. Our group was in it, all 6 of us, standing in the middle of the floor. And behind us, barely visible in the shadows, was a 7th figure. Small, bent over, crawling. It was the last day of school and I got detention. Not a cool story, not a funny senior prank gone wrong. I literally just mouthed off to my math teacher one too many times. And he sent me straight to the office. I figured they'd let it slide, it was the last day. After all, but nope, they made an example out of me. "We're assigning you to room B3 for after-school detention." The secretary said, not even looking up. "B3, I asked, "what is that, the dungeon?" She didn't laugh, just handed me a pink slip and said, 3:30 sharp, bring your yearbook, you're staying an hour. I didn't even know the school had a room B3. So yeah, while my friends were signing each other's yearbooks and planning grad parties, I was stuck dragging my backpack through the back hallway of Jefferson High, looking for a classroom I'd never heard of before. B3 wasn't easy to find. I had to go past the band room, through a set of heavy double doors I'd never noticed before, and down a flight of stairs that looked like they belonged in a fallout shelter. Everything down there was wrong. The air was colder, the lights buzzed louder, and the walls were painted that weird off-yellow that looks like it's been stained by time and secrets. I found the room at the very end of the hall. A plain metal door, no windows. Just a plaque that said B3, instructional use only. I knocked, no answer. I turned the knob and stepped inside. The room was completely empty except for 6 desks arranged in a weird circle and an old TV cart in the corner. No teacher, no other students. Just that sterile flickering light that makes your skin look sick. I stood there for a second, debating whether to leave and say no one showed up, but then the door closed behind me. Hard. I jumped and spun around, the knob wouldn't turn. I yanked harder. Locked. Seriously, I muttered, you've gotta be kidding me. I banged on the door, nothing. Then the overhead lights blinked once and turned off completely. I stood in the dark, trying not to freak out, when the TV in the corner suddenly clicked on by itself. Old school static, that gray snow that buzzes in your brain if you stare at it too long. Then an image started to form. A blurry black and white hallway, my hallway. I saw myself walking down it from earlier. The camera must have been from the ceiling, security footage maybe. But then I noticed something in the corner of the screen. A shape, standing behind me. But in real life, no one had been there. I stared at the screen, trying to make sense of it, when the footage cut out and was replaced by a line of text. You're not supposed to be here. The TV went black. I backed away slowly, heart pounding, and tried the door again, still locked. That's when I heard the chair behind me creak. One of the desks in the circle had moved. I hadn't touched it, I knew I hadn't. I stepped back again, the light flickered back on. Just for a second, and in that second, I swear I saw someone sitting at the desk. Not a student. It was a woman. Face pale, eyes dark, wearing some kind of old school dress. Like 1950s vibes, a teacher maybe. But the lights blinked out before I could see more. And when they came back on, the desk was empty. I wanted to scream, but my throat felt locked up. That's when I noticed something written on the chalkboard at the front of the room. It wasn't there before. Big scrawled letters that read, "No one ever left." I stared at the chalkboard, heart thudding so hard it hurt. No one ever left. What the hell did that mean? I turned to check the door again. Jiggled the knob harder this time. But it felt like it wasn't even a knob anymore, just a solid piece of metal. My palms were slick with sweat. I tried to convince myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe the staff set it up to scare the last day troublemakers or something. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it.